name is Kevin Ross. I'm fighting at Fighters Rep 10, August 13th in Seal Beach. I'm excited about this fight because I finally get to show off the skills that I've been honing in for the past year. 2020 didn't do us very well. I've been waiting to show the skills off, and now here we are. I've been training with Milton Arguello here at Milton Arguello's Mixed Martial Arts Academy. I see myself in his style. We're both very playful when it comes to striking, grappling, whatever it is. It doesn't conform to one thing, and I've always identified with that. I've wanted this fight for a very long time. You know, I last fought in 2019. I'm an extremely competitive person, no matter what it is. This is the next step. This is another version of competition. After they raise my hand, I'll be ready to do the next one. With the next Fighters Rep, the next available competition, I'll be there. See a big man throw kicks, throw punches that you've never seen before. It's not often that you see someone that's 6'4", 265 pounds being able to move the way I do. You're gonna see a show.
All right, my guest here today is a friend of the show, and he is somebody who, if you like good action, you've probably been to a Fighters Rep event. And if you like good kickboxing, Muay Thai, some of the best out here in Southern California. Now, here's the thing that you should know about them. Yes, we technically haven't seen them in action since February 29th, 2020. However, they are about to return back to their historic and famed location out in Seal Beach, and that is going to be coming up August 13th, 2021. So this is the big return. And guess what, kids? You probably know a lot of people who are fighting on this one. If you were watching any of the event, and I know that I caught the replay on this one, the last event had so many great moments that I think you'd be hard-pressed to miss this opportunity. I know that we're the Grappling Hour, but we support our local friends over here, and I am so stoked to see so many of our friends in the grappling and MMA community getting back some fights. So we're talking today with the president of One Fighters Rep. Please welcome back to the show, George Francis. George, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, Raph. Thanks for having me on, man.
I have to ask, and I know that some people are seeing it, where did the hat, where did that start making an appearance in your videos? Because every time I look and I see that you've got a new video coming up, I see the hat.
So, you know, the fez, or the tarbush, as they call it in Levantine Arabic, is, you know, it's just something that I wore. You know, I figured a lot of the promoters have a little shtick, you know, and I felt like I needed my shtick, especially in the YouTube world. You know, you need something that kind of pops and catches people's eye. And, you know, we make a lot of videos on YouTube. I mean, I'm on there almost daily, and not just me, but we're dropping Fighters Rep content as well. So I said, you know, I've got one of these. You know, my grandfathers wore these on both sides of the family. Yeah, you know, I'm of basically just, you know, to make it simple, Arab descent is what I'm, you know, basically I'm from that region. My parents are, my grandparents. So, you know, I thought it would be cool, something different, and I'm sticking with it.
You look good in it, man. The thing is, I've got an odd-shaped head, so I stay away from those hats if I can. But I think that it really pops with you. And I got to tell you, there are certain colors that pop when you see them on the YouTube thumbnails, and red is one of those colors. So yeah. I think it's a smart choice. Now, of course, I didn't get to go to your last event. I was busy, but I heard great things, and then I later watched it. Tell me about this. What was the original plan after February 29th, 2020? In a perfect world, what were you planning to do after that date?
In a perfect world, Raph, I was going to come right back in. I think it was 2.5 months afterwards, you know, and put on Fighters Rep 11. Unfortunately, you weren't there at Fighters Rep 10. But you saw it, and it was a sold out event, and it was madness, and it was all the fights were awesome, and we were going to take that momentum. We were going to come back a couple months afterwards. Our plan was to get a fight going every other month, and then maybe eventually go to every month as the promotion continued to progress. But unfortunately, COVID didn't let us do that, man.
I will tell you this, and I haven't told you this in person or even digitally yet, but I was commentating an event on the Queen Mary, but I went to go get In-N-Out. I was starving. And I ran into Johnny, who was in your main fight with my pal, Milton. And when I run into him, I was like, hey, bud. And he's like, what's up, man? I go, oh, did you just fight at Fighters Rep? And he goes, I did. And I go, cool. Well, you beat my buddy. So you're not my best friend right now, but congratulations to you. And he's so good-natured, and we had a nice chat about it. But he did one thing that pissed me off, which was he got to In-N-Out, and after winning a fight that by all accounts was super great and amazing, and he ended up getting a protein-style burger. And I went up to him, and I was like, hey, dude, listen, the least you can do to honor the occasion is to have an actual burger. Goodness. And he just told me, he's like, hey, man, I've got other fights that I'm going into. And I'm like, bro, if I were you, this thing, like, diet would start back tomorrow. I get it. You're a real athlete. I am not. But at the very least, it was a hard fight, dude. Enjoy yourself. He couldn't have been more gracious, but he's coming up on this next one, and we'll come back to that in a second. So, yeah, you were already planning at that point to move on and come back very quickly, correct?
Yes, and I wanted to say something. So, we do a lot of interviews on the channel. Mm-hmm. And I interviewed John Garcia not too far after the event. And he brought this exact story up to me. But I didn't know. Yeah, do you believe this? But I didn't know that it was you that he spoke to. And we had this whole thing about, I went in on him about, dude, like, is that the kind of discipline it takes? Like, you went after that fight and got you a protein style burger? Like, you could get some. I told him I would have eaten a whole taco truck after that fight. I mean, that fight was ridiculous. And it's crazy how it's come full circle now, over like a year and a half later almost. And I find out that it was you that approached him. I mean, to listen, tell him that you beat my friend.
I'll be very clear. It takes a certain kind of person to do that. If there is a random bum going up to accost a fighter, it's probably me. Like, if it sounds like me, it probably was. There's not too many people who have the balls to go up and roast fighters, especially after they win, and when you don't know them. And so my thing was, as I was telling him that, I was like, I don't know if this is going to go over well, but I don't know any other way to be with people than my authentic self. And my authentic self, to the people closest to me, mock and yell and say jokes at them. And the thing that made me happy was I could see him smile after he realized what I was doing. And I said, oh, okay. I didn't know that I became the other story on the other side of that. But that's amazing. So you're welcome for the extra content. It's never ending with me.
I love it. I mean, a year and a half later, I part of me thought, who was this person that went up to John Garcia and told him, you beat my friend at Fighters Rep? Oh shit. A part of me thought that. Sorry, I think I scratched myself here.
You're good. Idiot. And to be honest, there's a lot of fights that I have seen, and when you are in this community, you end up having a lot of friends, and sometimes your friends fight other friends. And I distinctly remember there's a UFC fighter who's local out here who was fighting on some of the local shows, and I saw him in an In-N-Out. Like, it goes without standing. You'll end up running to somebody at an In-N-Out because that's what they want the most. And he lost a close fight, and I just remembered going up to him and being like, dude, I know that you lost, but it was a great fight. And every time I run into him now, he's always like, hey, dude, what's up, man? And he doesn't remember a lick about me, but he knows that I'm authentic enough to say, like, dude, sometimes they can't put one and one together like the rest of us, where we saw the fights. They're in the space of being a competitor, as they should be. But I always try to put things in perspective of, listen, what you did was dope, and you should know that. So that was it. Well, I'm glad that Johnny is that way. I'm hoping to run into him again so that I could be like, so you're gonna go and tell more stories about me now if I say something? Is it on record or off record? And you know what's beautiful? He knows all of the folks that I've known from like systems, and it's a small community. So the thing that I did assure to him as I was saying it to him was, I just want to let you know, I know everybody you train with. Like, I know a handful of the guys that you had in your corner. I was pissed at them momentarily, but they're all near and dear and family to me. So let's do this. So after that case happened, you said you wanted to come back. That wasn't what was going to happen, but you started making all of these videos and all of these, like, you amped up the fight analysis. You amped up like updates on the fighters within the community. Since pandemic, how many videos have you created or done, would you say, in your rough estimation?
Oh my God. I mean, almost every day, man. Almost every day, sometimes twice a day. A couple times I took a few days off or whatever it was, but it's almost every day. I mean, yesterday I dropped a YouTube video. I dropped 2 of them yesterday. It's nonstop, man. You know, I'm a promoter, and you know, I make the videos because I want Fighters Rep not only to be a place known for kickboxing primarily, but also a place where fight fans that, you know, love combat sports want to come discuss combat sports, and you know, they hear it, you know, right out of the horse's mouth with me. You know what I mean? And you know, I've created a bit of a culture so far. I mean, it's still a baby. We're maybe 7,600 something subscribers on YouTube. It's still a baby, but that's significant growth for me. I started from nothing, and you know, I've built a bit of a following, and it's not even for me, Ruff. I don't want the attention on myself. It's just something that I've had to do in order to bring attention to the channel, in order to hopefully bring more attention to our fighters. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So, you know, we talk about everything related to fighting, especially with regards to kickboxing, which is what we do, boxing, and MMA. You know?
Well, you're very nice about the way that you're putting what your YouTube channel has done, but I want to give some statistics here. And just to put things in perspective, 7,000 is nothing to scoff at. Getting space in the YouTube community can be very difficult. However, you have over 1.2 million views currently on your YouTube channel. And that's, all things considered, as a guy who knows numbers pretty well, that's not only good, but what's really become impressive is if you look at like some of your most popular videos, obviously they're going to be with your fighters and a lot of that stuff, but you know, it's kind of cool when you talk about things like Khabib showed mercy on Justin Gaethje with a triangle, and that has a good 59,000. So there is a community that you are fostering, right, and it does, you know, if people have that conversation, they want to get in on that. So that's a testament to being good to the community. I would ask this, I have not seen that video, but where did you fall in the line of Khabib showing mercy to Justin Gaethje?
You know, I thought he did so, and the reason I made that video was I just thought that he's so amazing, really. I mean, far and above everybody else in the division, in my opinion, right? You might totally disagree, but I just thought he was so above and beyond everyone else in the division that for him to have the wherewithal to do that, if it really was something that he did, is amazing. I mean, it could be a total, you know, BS, you know, they're trying to create a legend out of Khabib, but, you know, if he really did it, I think my position was, if he really did that, then, you know, that's amazing wherewithal, awareness during a fight.
I'm really glad that you branded that, if he did it, like he was OJ writing a book, being like, if I did it.
You don't think he did?
My contention was this. You're in a fight. You're in a sport where many bad scenarios could be the possibility, and sometimes they are.
Yeah.
So if the narrative, the PR spin, is to be, guess what, guys? I did the humane thing. I put him down safely and gently, but I did choke him unconscious in front of his family and just let his head drop, and I go, see, merciful God. To me, it just said, like, dude, you had a transition, you got it, and you know what? Whatever. I just know that for what I see for Khabib, there's no doubt to the skill. What becomes interesting is I think he is savvier than people give him credit for in terms of how he promotes things. And so the PR side of me usually goes, that is number one bullshit. But you as a fighter, I'm not even going to touch. There's nothing really to say other than one of the best of all time. But when I see a woman standing outside of the UFC office, and then I see a Dana White being like, hey, what's this old lady doing here? I know, I'll call my friend Khabib. All I think to myself is, okay. Seems awfully convenient the week Connor is a shitty human being that we have a feel-good story of a woman who went outside in the blazing heat and just happened to be picked up by Dana White, a notoriously sincere and heartfelt individual. And oops, Khabib just happened to be there International Fight week. So, excuse my skepticism, but every once in a while I see those stories and I go, sounds nice, good for her. Hope it's true if he really did it sincerely. So okay.
You know what I thought was you know what I thought.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm probably a little delayed and I apologize for that. But you know what I thought was kind of unique was the fact that and you know this kind of for me can you still hear me, Ruff?
I got you. I'm still right here.
Okay, because I don't see your picture. Okay, good. So what I thought was a little unique and odd, I guess, for the, you know, about the situation that made me believe it a bit less is the fact that she was like Colombian, I think. Some like random woman from Colombia is a Khabib fan. Like I really like if it were like, you know, someone that was Russian or, you know, I would believe it a bit more. But it's like this old lady from Colombia, and it almost made me more interested, right? Because I wanted to know, well, what's the, you know, what is it about Khabib that's making you like Khabib with all the fighters that are on the UFC? And then, you know, now you're saying International Fight Week. I mean, maybe that had something to do with it. But I found it very weird that an old lady from Colombia, like you said, and taking all the timing and everything into consideration, Connor was a turd at the time and everything else. An old lady from Colombia decides that she's Khabib's biggest fan. I just thought it was funny and weird.
To me, it sounds like a marketing conglomerate putting it together. Like in the UFC press office, they're like, guys, this Connor thing's a lot of shit. He literally threatened somebody's wife. We need a good idea. Who's got a good idea? How about an old lady? Okay, fucking old ladies, they go over well. He's gonna walk her across the street. Nah, nobody's gonna believe that. Blistering sun, someone comes to get her. I save the day. Dana White comes in. Like, to me, that's fine. I know you mentioned the Colombian thing. To me, in the biz, we just call that good casting. Like, she's just there, and they go, you know, we can't really do this thing. How about Colombians? Ooh, love Colombian coffee. Gonna put her down for that.
Let's do it.
So let me ask this, okay? Because I know what it's like as a fight fan and as somebody who trains. I don't know what it's like as a matchmaker to be sitting on matches that are going through your head. Like, you probably were going crazy in terms of wanting to put out a fight and then thinking like, oh, I've got a really good fight I'm sitting on. What has been the fight that you have sat on the longest that you are going to be delivering for us? Or have things changed so drastically within the past, 18, 16 months?
You know, things changed drastically. But, you know, one of the fights I was really looking to put on that I'm finally going to get to put on, and it's actually going to be the first fight on the main card at Fighters Rep 10 on August 13th, is John Garcia versus Mikey Two Raw Shaw. And I'm really interested in that fight, and I've really wanted to put that fight together, among others, because both of those guys have such like a high level amateur striking background. You know what I'm saying, Rob? And I think that lends obviously a lot of skill and potential success to the pro game. You think of guys like Lomachenko, and some of these other, really great boxers who had very deep amateur pedigrees. Now, I'm not saying they had one that deep. Lomachenko had something like 400 fights, but in the kickboxing world, the amount of fights they did have was significant. And so I think these guys are just very highly skilled. They're still at the very beginning of their careers. They're two very tough guys. And it's just a delicious fight for hardcore fans. And it's also Inglewood versus Stockton. I mean, where else are you going to get Inglewood versus Stockton?
Well, a lot of times in the streets, but we aren't supposed to talk about that one. I would tell you that it is wonderful to get it in a ring, because that's way better. But I have to tell you, man, I think that as I was watching from the sidelines, I would see peaks, I would see hints, or I would see illusions that it was like, we're working, we've got stuff, it's just we need the all clear. So at what point did you say, all right, we've kind of got the all clear, and then at what point did you hear from the fighters that you knew that you would be putting on this card?
Yeah, the fighters were not the issue. They've been itching to fight. I think it's extremely unfortunate. And listen, Fighters Rep is not a political entity. You will never hear a single political position taken, because they're all just too loaded. And we're a sport. We're not CNN. We're not Fox. But I really think that the whole shutdown, which obviously affected CSAC to the point where it just became financially impossible for most shows to put fights together, it really harmed these fighters. And a lot of them, it harmed them, psychologically, because a lot of these guys, they need this. They need fighting. They need to compete. And, now you kind of pull them out of the only thing that they know, it kind of destroyed them. So for me, the fighters, they weren't an issue as far as getting them together. They want to fight. But it was very sad for me to see what happened. And, we've lost a few guys. We've lost a few guys the last year. I was just at Bernie Hopalian, who's like my brother. I was at his, candlelight vigil last week. This thing did a lot more harm than good. I wish businesses would not have closed. I wish things would have been, maybe done in a way where people could have resumed their careers and businesses. Now these guys have lost a year and a half off of their careers, so it's difficult. When I thought I heard the all clear was when, the governor basically said that June 15th we're going back to normal. And I had actually planned an event for late July, and I thought that was even too soon. So I said, let me give myself a bigger buffer and let me aim for August 13th. And that's what we're doing. I just figured if we were going to open on June 15th, then the whole state was going to open. And I didn't want to jump the gun like some promotions did and say, okay, like we're all set, it's going down, like, reserve June, the end of June or even July, because I still felt that there was a risk and I didn't want to inconvenience them. I'm not saying I'm some kind of like noble guy and you should follow my moral compass or whatever it is. But and I know there's a lot that goes into this. And for me to tell a fighter you've got to fight on this date and for it to fall through in a time like this is devastating. And I just didn't want to do it. I set it out for August. I heard Newsom say June 15th, and I was comfortable with an August date after consulting with the commission.
Well, that's excellent to hear that you... I mean, that's the thing I think I found with so many people was they were trying to do the right thing. My heart also hurts for even Lights Out because they had to cancel it. It was the next day that they had done the Shutdown, and I knew fighters who were en route to weigh in that day. And it's one of those things where, some of these guys appear on not just your kind of shows, but other very, very prominent Southern California shows. And we've seen some of them prominently get back out there. But I would say in our community, Fighters Rep has this sort of following of people who really are passionate about this. And they don't always get a venue or a event like this. So I know that I've been waiting to kind of put it down. I even have, normally a calendar over here where I just start doing it. And I told people I wasn't even doing live coverage. I just shot something over this weekend that was kickboxing. And I had to tell people, I was like, how's this camera work again? Do I point it at them or me? Because
oh my God.
And it took a little while. I told people, I was like, if you guys felt rusty when you went back to go train for the first time, it's getting your sea legs back and finding your right ISOs and your apertures that you like for certain fighters. So it took a little bit, but I was glad to see the community looking very, very positive at that. You mentioned...
I will say, Ralph.
Go right ahead.
Ralph, I'm extremely impressed with how much you've grown your own social media. And I see all the followers you have on Instagram. And, not everybody understands that. Not everybody understands that. I understand that, having grown the YouTube following and everything else myself with, a couple of the team members, of course, as well. And I got to commend you for that, man. You're doing a fantastic job, man. And that's big. What you're doing is big.
Thank you. The check is under the hat, so I will make sure that deposits perfectly in the next day or so. It's very nice of you to say. I think what happens is, I'm sure you, like me, said, if I can't do fights, I'm going to create content. And we started doing fight companions because I said, if we can't be together, let's be together. Let's create little events. And even going forward, for our brand, we just learn new tricks that I said, oh, I probably would have never done this, or I would have never done that. And I'm looking to do even more stuff, like even more event that we create. Because we've loved doing live coverage. I mean, I have told you multiple times I've loved covering your events because there is an atmosphere about it. What I did want to ask you is this. You mentioned already one fight that excites you, but tell me a little bit about... Let's start first with the undercard. What are some fights that we need to be paying attention to on the undercard, even just to begin?
I mean, Ralph. It's just this one is kind of madness, man. I'm gonna go through it because I kind of can't remember every single fight sometimes, or the ones I'm really looking at. But I mean, if we start with the main card. My goodness, first and foremost, both of Anderson Silva's kids are on the card. Both of them.
Is this the first time both of them are fighting? Because I know one of them has been on, and that's a huge video, by the way.
Yeah. So it's going to be, the return of Gabe Silva, who's the IKF Southern Regional Champion at this point. He won he had an incredible performance at our last event against a kid in Christian Williams who trains out of King's MMA, who's an absolute beast. I think if Silva's one of the best or the best in that division, Williams is right up there as well. But he's on the card. Khalil Silva will be making his debut against a very tough kid named Anthony Reynaga out of Champions BJJ. They've got a great striking program over there, and they're just a bunch of tough kids. They're just a bunch of tough kids out there, man. They've got 4 kids on the card, and it's almost like that gym, Champions BJJ, has like its own personality of, oh yeah, we'll fight whoever, whenever. So that's a really exciting fight. Other very, I think, important fights to mention on the undercard. We've got Luis Moreno taking on Jonathan Montoya. And these are on the on the prelims. Jonathan Montoya, also from Champions BJJ, taking on Moreno from Black House, right? And it's not just Black House. It's the EYR division. It's Coach Raging's EYR division, the striking coach at Black House. that's going to be an absolute war. Montoya, he made his debut at Fighters Rep. He fought one fight, and I said, this kid is like an athletic Antonio Margarito. He just keeps coming, and he's going to be an absolute nightmare for anyone. He went out to the Muay Thai tournament in Arizona. Mind you, we only do kickboxing, but he went out to the Muay Thai tournament in Arizona. His coach told me, and I said, listen, that kid's going to rip people apart out there. And I think he went like 3-1 or 4-1 and lost a decision in the finals. This is a kid, Rob, who had one fight at Fighters Rep and went and almost annihilated an entire tournament. Like, the kid's, ridiculous. Yeah, so that's definitely a notable fight. I definitely want to point out also a very versed amateur in Oscar Mueller. He's going to be taking on Joshua the Korean Pitbull Fachman. I mean, these are two guys on the verge of turning pro that are just absolutely like come forward, walk forward, but with skill. It's not like two zombies, you know what I mean? These guys really know what they're doing in there. Mueller has challenged for a title with us in the past against Wilson Ha. It's a fight that some people say is the best fight we've ever had. He's going to be.
It was a spectacular fight.
There you go, and he's going to be taking on. He's going to be taking on Joshua, the Korean Pitbull Fachman, who definitely, check him out if you haven't seen him before. He fought first in the past as well, and he doesn't know anything but to come forward either. We've got Christian O'Brien, a kid who's basically grown at Fighters Rep, turned into an amazing striker out of Long Beach kickboxing. He lost his first fight by decision, then rattled off 3 wins, beat a real veteran in his last fight. He's going to be taking on Johnny Robles, one of Josh Barnett's guys who also cross-trains at CMMA, who's just also an absolute beast. I mean, these two kids are must-see TV. And then when we get to the main card, I mean, 4 fights, pro fights on the main card, all very notable. I think Too Shaw versus John Garcia on its own is worth the price of admission. You saw John Garcia and Milton fight at the last Fighters Rep. I mean,
Great fight.
Milton earned so much respect from me, and I think everybody in the striking community in that fight. If you told me, by the way, if you told me you could have Milton back at every event, I would take him back in a heartbeat. So that fight between John Garcia and Too Shaw is going to be crazy. We've got Eddie Jackson taking on Connor Bracken, coming down from Northern California, representing the Wooden Man Muay Thai's gym. He's a young, hungry upcomer. Eddie Jackson's already an established guy. People know what he's about. I think this is going to be an explosive fight. And then in the co-main, we've got Terrion Ware, UFC veteran, the Flash, a guy who's even had a boxing match. I mean, a guy who's very versed in striking, and I think striking is his wheelhouse. He's going to be taking on Team Oyama's Ardavan Moini, a guy who, again, on the come up, just an absolutely surging prospect. He's going to be taking on a veteran in Terrion Ware, who's going to be represented, I think, for this camp. He trained at CMMA, but also at Los Angeles Muay Thai. So, I mean, just the top tier, basically striking gyms. Not just here, Ruff. I mean, when you're talking about the best striking gyms in California, you kind of got to lump that in with the best striking gyms in the world. I mean, it's just the way it is, really. And then, so that's going to be a crazy fight. And then finally, in the main event, I mean, Chris Cully, the urban legend, the murder show. You know what I mean? 40, 50 fights between MMA and Muay Thai. A 2-division MMA champion, a Muay Thai champion, looking to also add a kickboxing belt to his belt collection and become one of the few athletes who have won in 3 different combat sports a championship. He's going to be taking on Justin Moss, a 5-time Glory veteran that we're flying in from Colorado, Rob. We're flying him in from Colorado. He's a 5-time Glory veteran. He's won his past couple fights at Glory. I mean, this guy comes to fight. It's a little bit of a beef already going on with the Colorado versus California thing, if you've been watching the channel. There's double gold on the line. The IKF likes the fight so much that they're making it an IKF title for the. They're calling it the Pacific Mountain title since these guys are from 2 different regions.
Nice.
We've also got the first ever Fighters Rep Pro title that they're going to be contending for, and I think it's very sexy. The belt that we had made for this fight. So the winner's going to get 2 belts, And then since we're on the topic of belts, Gabriel Silva, which is Anderson Silva's son, and I kind of wanted to pat myself and the team on the back for this one because not many people are doing this, especially in the striking game. So Gabriel Silva, who's Anderson Silva's son, he won the Southern Regional title at our last event against Christian Williams. We reached out to the Northern Regional champ for this card, and we said, let's unify. That's what I want to do, Rob. I want to see who the man is. I want to put the best strikers together in the Lion's Den and see who comes out on top. I want to create a culture where the best fight the best, and we appreciate you win, lose, or draw. It doesn't matter. As long as you go out there and you put it on the line, we got love and respect for you. But he's going to be taking on Christian Acevedo coming down, the Northern Regional champion, and it was going to be for the California state title, the entire state, but the IKF liked it so much, and of course with a little push from myself and a little bit of negotiation, it's now going to be for the entire IKF West Coast title. So the guy who wins this fight is the man on the West Coast. So I mean, stacked card top to bottom. There's not a fight on here that isn't, I think excellently matched. We even got one of Wilson's young heavyweights on the card, Kevin Ross. Not Wilson, I'm sorry, Milton's young heavyweights on the card, Kevin Ross. He's taking on a kid named Roberto Jimenez out of the Dog Pound Gym. It's going to be an explosive event, man. It's going to be better and more exciting than the last one. And, I hope everybody can make it out. Get your tickets to live stream at FightersRep.com.
Look at that. And who is on the sticks? Who is on the commentary for that?
So, I love the Blake Troupe very much. Excuse me. I love the Blake Troupe very much. He actually made his commentating debut with us, I think.
That's right.
He credits me with helping him, in his flourishing commentating career. Now he's commentating wrestling events and he's doing wrestling, and he moved out to Tampa and he's absolutely killing it. So, but I can't have Blake Troupe because he moved out to Tampa. So I had to find a replacement, and that's going to be David Huey, a guy who's got a ton of experience in the striking game, a guy who's fought, who coaches the best strikers, some of the best strikers in California, a guy who's got experience in, TV and movie production and everything else, and a guy who's sought after as far as commentating goes. I mean, I think he did the last Triumphant fight. I think he does a lot of their stuff. He works with a couple other promotions. So I love having him on, and of course we've got Chris Cross coming back. I think Chris Cross, being a fighter, having represented for Team Oyama at Fighters Rep events in the past as a fighter and as a commentator, I think, he's just got an amazing personality. He really knows how to put it together and communicate what's going on in the ring. And I think it's going to be an excellent broadcasting.
And I did want to compliment you. I thought that Blake flourished in 2 different types of roles. I thought that he added a good splash of personality, but if you really listen to his stuff, it was really, really informative. And I know when someone's new, and he had such enthusiasm. It's like, dude, you're going to go so far with enthusiasm to begin with because you're just excited and things.
Right.
And that's going to bring it out of you. And, I was walking by, I think a couple times when he was doing commentary, and I could just hear him. And I just told him, I think at one point I just walked over and I was like, dude, you're doing great. This is great. Just keep it up. And every time we run into each other, he's somebody who's just always trying to learn, and to see him do great things in pro wrestling is amazing. So very happy that you guys played a role in that. And I know that you will have great work on that. If I were to ask this, because you did the good sell there, okay? And I like the good sell. The good sell is important, but let's be honest, economy can be pretty bad, y'all. So, that stimmy money's gone, everybody. Tell me this. George, right here, right now, if I was on the fence on going, why am I going to Fighters Rep 10? And I will give you the floor, and I'm going to give you a minute to just sell us. I know you walked us through the card, but what is it that we don't know if we've never been, or what is it that maybe we've gone, and it's been a while? I'm not sure if I'm going to come back, because maybe I don't know any of these fighters.
Well, there's so many reasons, but if I'm going to put it in a nutshell, you're only going to give me a minute, Raph. These are the best strikers on the planet. These are guys who, represent gyms here in California that represent on the biggest promotions throughout the world. And a lot of times, these are guys who are forced to go into MMA or do, different sort of combat rule sets because they don't have a promotion that allows them to just stand and bang it out with people. Fighters Rep, as far as I know currently, is the only active pro licensed kickboxing promotion in the state of California. Guys got to stand in front of each other and bang it out. There is no clinching under the IKF unified rules of kickboxing. There is, if it's a one-handed clinch, as long as they're working, the referee will let them fight just like in a boxing match. But as soon as they stop, they're getting broken up. So this is essentially pure striking. It's just like boxing, except knees and kicks are allowed. So if a guy's hurt, if a guy's hurt, he can't really save himself. He's got to, usually he's got to fight out of it. If you're stuck in a corner, you're going to have to fight out of it. And for the fight fans that come, the general admission tickets start at just $45. Any seat in the house is a fantastic seat. The venue is going to fit about 1,000 people. You're going to get a great view no matter where you sit at Fighters Rep. The food is delicious and affordable. The drink is delicious and affordable. But most of all, the fights are going to be absolute bangers. And if you don't believe me, you can go to the YouTube channel and watch some of our previous fights. If you haven't watched the Fighters Rep fight, I'm gonna implore you to go check out John Garcia versus Milton Arguello, and and see all the action and glory that is a Fighters Rep Unified Rules kickboxing event.
That's what's up. That's great stuff. I gotta say, I knew that some of those things would be said. I didn't know that the food was going to be mentioned. That one took me because it's like, well, all the other stuff, the good fights, but tacos, I will be there for that. I decided.
Look, Rob, I wanted to mention it because we have Mariscos El Gordo, who's a sponsor, right? And this guy is so awesome, man. This guy, he hooks it up for food for the fighters at weigh-in, right? Mm. And that's, besides the fact that his food is delicious, okay, he also jumped on as a sponsor. And, I've always fed my guys after weigh-ins. I mean, some of them, they have certain diets and they can't eat or whatever, but I try to accommodate them and get them food and drink for after weigh-ins. And this guy's so generous and kind-hearted, and his food is so delicious that, I just had to shout him out. Yes, tacos, yes, delicious Mexican food. It's all going to be there. And then as far as, our bar, our bar is incredible. We got a VIP area with bottle service. And, you come out and you have an absolute blast with your friends or your family or your significant other on Friday the 13th. We'll keep you, company on Friday the 13th.
Are you worried about that at all? Does that ever spook you?
Not at all. Not at all. I actually love it because in the main event we've got Chris Cully, who's known as the Murder Show and the Urban Legend and the Dutchman Jumbi. And Jumbi, in his culture and Caribbean culture and Guyanese culture, it's basically the boogeyman. So to have a guy who's essentially the boogeyman, coming to fight, and he's always putting up zombie emojis, and he's got his fight shirt with him. It's basically like a recreation of himself as like a zombie, essentially. To have him fighting on Friday the 13th, I think is just badass.
I also saw this. It looks and appears, normally I'd have an infographic, but I wanted to do my due diligence over here. Looks like you're also prepping for what says here November 6th. So if people are looking to get on your next card, what is it they need to be telling you and what is it they need to be showing you?
Yeah, so they just go to FightersRep.com and they register, and it asks every question we need to determine, is this person training? Do they have a coach? What is their record? So on and so forth. And, we're aiming for Raf, not to toot our own horn or anything like that, but the tickets are, there's very few tickets left, and we're still, something like 3 weeks out. I think the one in November is going to be potentially bigger, assuming the state doesn't shut down again. That's something we also have to keep an eye out for. So, we're just getting people hyped up and ready and prepped for that next event, which will, between me and you, you're the first one to hear about it. We'll be at a different venue likely. It will likely be at a different venue, a much larger venue, much higher scale venue, and something I'm very excited about, as we continue to evolve the sport of kickboxing.
Well, if you've ever been to one of these events, you've seen already the size of what this is, the way that you have audiences lined up and packed in. That can only mean bigger and better things, and that I am truly happy about. George, it's so good catching up with you. It's so good to hear that you've been able to create this content for people who have been starved for content and that you're looking to get fights back on the forefront of things. So I'm looking forward to seeing that August 13th date. I'm currently looking to come cover it in person, but couldn't be happier for you, man. I look forward to seeing those athletes get their opportunity to rise and shine again.
Thank you, man. I can't wait to do this. I hope to see you there. You'll be there on August 13th?
I will be there on August 13th. Hold on, wait, hold on. Let me make sure. All things provided. Just in case anything comes up, it's actually property of the Grappling Hour. I want to make sure that, just letting you know, this is my in case of emergency out of business card. I just want to let you know, yes, I work in an industry where things crazily change, but on here, just so you know, this is not bullshit. This is a calendar. This is usually my fight coverage calendar. This is how you can tell things are getting back to normal, but yet still not. Right over here, what do you see on the 13th?
Oh, I love it.
That.
I love it.
So,
Listen. First and foremost, stop putting a space between fighters and rep. I can't stand people like you that do that. Second of all, the fact that I have a grappling guy coming to cover our event means so goddamn much to me. Thank you so much, Ralph.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that. And then finally, what I wanted to say is we will be having, as we continue to build the brand, and I think it's a necessity, we will be having at the weigh-in immediately afterwards, and we'll be having a press conference after the fight. I hope you can be there just to ask a couple questions of the winners of the main card, and if not, it's fine. I'll find a way to forgive you. But I would love for you to be there for that.
I'm sure, as you've seen, I can accost all of your main event card winners very easily about their food choices.
At the in and out. Right,
listen, dude, it's the reverse of fat shaming. It's literally going up to somebody being like, why aren't you fat? That's the shaming that I do. George, pleasure to see you. I'll say bye to you off air.
My name is Kevin Ross. I'm fighting at FightersRep 10, August 13th in Seal Beach. I'm excited about this fight because I finally get to show off the skills that I've been honing in for the past year. 2020 didn't do us very well. I've been waiting to show the skills off, and now here we are. I've been training with Milton Arguello here at Milton Arguello's Mixed Martial Arts Academy. I see myself in his style. We're both very playful when it comes to striking, grappling, whatever it is. It doesn't conform to one thing, and I've always identified with that. I've wanted this fight for a very long time. I last fought in 2019. I'm an extremely competitive person, no matter what it is. This is the next step. This is another version of competition. After they raise my hand, I'll be ready to do the next one. With the next Fighters Rep, the next available competition, I'll be there. See a big man throw kicks, throw punches that you've never seen before. It's not often that you see someone that's 6'4", 265 pounds being able to move the way I do. You're gonna see a show.